Hey, I thought I'd do something a little different today. I'm sure you notice right now is a very weird time to be a content creator on the site. I'm sure you know there's all this stuff going on about Persona, which I find both hilarious and depressing that they are being so strict about recording their game when obviously there's so many factors that go into why someone watches a story-driven game. One of which, the biggest one, is that it's like a 100-hour game. Obviously, not everyone has the time to commit to something like that. There's a difference between playing something like God of War or Call of Duty, which you can finish in a weekend, to playing casually, and Persona, which is like a huge commitment that can take weeks. I don't really care too much about that, but I think people have a lot of misconceptions about how difficult it can to be a content creator and create things regularly. Now, for me, I do live on disability. I am clinically depressed. I have major depressive disorder and anxiety and a whole bunch of other mental illnesses. Well, that's basically most of my mental illnesses. But for people who do this for a living and have this as their like primary source of income, it has been incredibly stressful right now. I haven't really read too much about it, but apparently they pissed off a bunch of the big sponsors that provide most of the ad revenue on this site, and apparently the people who make a lot of money on here are panicking. I think people need to be more open towards supporting people who create videos, and I think that people think that ad revenue is a very reliable source of income. It never really has been. Even if you're at the top right now, those people are going to see likely really huge deficits in how much money they make because of this whole thing where a lot of sponsors are backing out of advertising on YouTube. Not having big places like Walmart and things like that advertise on here is huge. The people that make the most on here, like top of the food chain, like the big gaming channels and the guide channels, and all those other people are like panicking because they've put so much time into this. Most of them have probably been around as long as I have. I've been around since the beginning of this site, and they have a whole lot of uncertainty. Yet I see people complain about people spamming their Patreon so much. I think people need to be more open-minded toward Patreon. Patreon is great for a number of reasons. The main one is basically it allows people to do what they want, do what they love without compromising, and I think that's something that needs to be appreciated more often. I'm sure people would not promote their Patreon so much. I do it a lot. I have to do it a lot because I don't make much, and sometimes I have expenses. Like right now, I'm trying to get a capture card, and I'm more limited by the fact that I don't know which good one to get at this point because I've had such terrible luck with them. But people don't want to do that. I think that people would like it if ad revenue was just more profitable and reliable, but unfortunately, it isn't. I'm sure it's the same thing on Twitch. People promote subs and stuff, and I think Twitch Prime has been a great step in the right direction. People are throwing their Twitch Prime subs towards different people all the time and helping them reach milestones for new emotes and stuff like that. And the emotes, in turn, will help more people sub. If someone has like 20 emotes and they can drop a Twitch Prime sub on them and get those emotes for a month and then maybe even get them closer to another milestone, then more people will do it, and at that point the ad revenue is pretty much irrelevant. It's not something that's really dependent on. It's a little extra. Like for instance, last month was my best performing month in I don't know how long. It had to have been pretty much since I signed up with Kursk, which was about a year ago. I think it's pretty crazy that even that was only like $50. I think I had like 100,000 views last month, and that was about $50. After Kursk takes their cut, it'll probably be around 49 or so. But there are other ways to support people too. I think people always think that another misconception is that if you can't spend money to help somebody, that you're not contributing. A lot of times, interaction goes a long way too. If you tell someone, hey, I like your art on Twitter or on here. Sometimes people say that they like my videos, and I do kind of struggle with the thought of just quitting because of how little it pays off. Sometimes I get those comments, and that keeps me going. There are so many ways to support people, and I think people get too stuck on the people who maybe get a little too pushy with promoting their stuff, but I feel like even then, those people don't want to do it either. Ad revenue has been highly unreliable for such a long period of time now, and it seems like it's only going to get worse from here on out, especially on YouTube. I wouldn't be surprised if the people who do this for a living that don't have any other kinds of source of income like I do, I live on disability, the people that are like maybe barely making minimum wage are going to be seeing huge cuts on how much money they're going to be making, even if they're pulling the same amount of views as before or even a little bit more. I think it's a pretty scary thought, and I hope to see more people swallowing their pride and making a Patreon. And I'm pretty shocked that I get the amount that I get from Patreon as I do, because I don't really have a whole lot of incentives on there. I've put a bunch on there and no one's really asked for it. I think people just want to support me because they know that I do this every day. I've even had some really rough personal problems in my family throughout the past week, and it's really impacted how much motivation I've had to really continue. But I'm still doing it anyway because people are supporting me on here, and I think that that's another beauty of Patreon as well. Even if you're making enough to pay for XSplit or pay for art supplies if you're an artist, or if you're like me where I'm making about enough off Patreon that I can feasibly get a $60 game or a couple smaller games like this month, like Coda Princess. I got that with my Patreon money. I unfortunately ended up refunding it, but you know what, that went back into Tokiden DLC, so I'll probably be covering that throughout the rest of the week. So having enough to at least keep your channel going is such a great boon for smaller channels, and that's what we really need right now. I think a lot of the bigger channels are really going to be maybe bailing to other sites at this point. I mean, I can't really speak for them on their behalf or what their financial situation is, but I think if things get worse on here, that stuff is only going to continue. I think Twitch Prime has been one of the greatest ways to support smaller streamers. Even some of the people that I follow that don't pull in thousands or even hundreds of viewers, maybe they hover around 100 or a little less than that. They have sub buttons now, and they're getting a pretty consistent amount of income from the the Twitch Prime subs. Like, I can't afford to sub to a bunch of people. I sub to one person regularly, and that is Omega, because I've known him for a long time. He's helped me out financially in the past, but I can't I can't sub to 20 channels and stuff like that. So I often will rotate my Twitch Prime sub around whoever I'm watching the most. If you know of that PGM2 emulation stuff that I did for Knights of Valor 3, a good friend of mine, McCall45 on Twitch, he plays a lot of underappreciated, unknown stuff like I do. I actually gave him my Twitch Prime sub that month because he hooked me up with a link to that emulator. Stuff like that is I think what we're going to see more often, and I hope people will be more accepting of it. Ad revenue is just it's in a shitty place right now. I don't really think it will affect me that much because I'm still a relatively small channel. Apparently I'm one of the bigger channels in the grand scheme of things now because most people are either, there doesn't seem to be much of a middle ground on YouTube anymore. It's either you have the gigantic channels that are kind of crumbling under the threat of this smaller ad revenue across the board, and then you have the really tiny channels that are just struggling to make a break at all, even just a single viral video. I think people in my spectrum that are kind of medium sized, I have about, I think, 8.5 million total views on here. I don't think there's many active channels like me anymore, and a lot of that is because ad revenue sucks. Like, ad revenue doesn't really let you pay for much of anything, and I think people have so much of they have pride and anxiety towards making a Patreon. I did too. I actually talked to my mom a couple years ago when I made that Patreon. I told her, it's hard to run the channel. I don't like having to ask for donations all the time, and she said to make one, and I was skeptical that anyone would support me at all. I ended up mulling over it for a while. I put a little bit of time into the page, and people actually started backing me. I was genuinely shocked, and it has changed things for me a lot. You might not think that $50 a month plus whatever pittance ad revenue I get can make a difference, but it really does. A lot of the things that I've covered in the past 2 years or so that I've had that Patreon has all come from you guys supporting me on there. That's why I'm able to do smaller stuff like River City Ransom and things like that. I've been able to take risks on smaller games and stuff like that. I know it's been a great boon to artists as well. Artists, especially these days on social media, a lot of them have had to beg for commissions. No matter how talented they are, it's been hard to get people, I guess, to do commissions and stuff like that, or want commissions. But now with Patreon, they're able to, if not, make their dream and make a living off it. At the very least, they're able to pay for supplies and stuff like that. Whether they're a physical drawer or a digital drawer, they can pay for all the equipment that they need and keep it going, maybe to a point where they can make more elsewhere. So I just wanted to make this. I know it's been a pretty hot topic, and I know there's this whole problem with Persona right now where people are Atlas is pretty much putting a gun to your head and telling you can't even stream it past a certain point. I don't know much about the game. Persona is not my cup of tea, but it definitely pissed me off seeing that. You can't really have games this day and age and not have them available to be streamed. People don't always have the time, money, or both to play these games. And for a 100-hour game, I think that they need to calm their shit down, basically, and let people do what they want with their game. I think that if someone is open to watching the game and seeing the spoilers, they probably weren't going to buy it anyway. I've watched streams on YouTube or Twitch and stuff before for games I wouldn't buy because they wouldn't really interest me. I hope that people will be more accepting of funding options like Patreon. It's definitely the best of both worlds, especially if you have good incentives and stuff like that. Some people are giving out physical goods and exclusive YouTube videos and stuff. I've thought about doing that, but with my current workload as it is, uploading every day, sometimes it's kind of difficult to do that, especially with my personal problems I've been having with my family and stuff. So I hope that if you watch this and you have Twitch Prime, this has nothing to do with me. If you have Twitch Prime or you have Amazon Prime, you should definitely link your channel, link your Amazon accounts to your Twitch account, and support people monthly. You'd be surprised how much it's been helping. I've seen a lot of people, break emote milestones and maybe be able to afford stuff like, better equipment for the computer or games and stuff like that. I hope that people will continue to be open-minded towards this stuff, because I assure you that no one who promotes their Patreon endlessly wants to do it. But at the same time, ad revenue is basically nothing unless you're at the top. And even now, that's kind of in jeopardy at the moment because of all these problems with apparently all these sponsors rage quitting on YouTube. So I don't know what the point of this was. I just wanted to talk about it. In terms of Tokiden, the only thing I really have left to do on that is finish Phase 12. I'll probably cover some of the DLC later. I'll try to get out some more guides, but I feel like I covered the majority of the stuff. If people want a review, I can probably go ahead and do that, but I'm kind of without editing software at the moment. I have my XSplit Express editor, but you can't really do advanced stuff with that, like record like mic muted content and then put commentary over it. I don't have any editing software at the moment. I was kind of waiting until I had a capture card, but at the moment I will be getting that big ad revenue spike next month. I was thinking maybe doing it next month, but I need some support from you guys. Which capture card would be the best to get? Because I've honestly had shitty luck with them. Like, the only capture card I've had that's ever been consistently reliable was the Dazzle DBC100, which is a very popular capture card even these days for retro streamers because it's standard definition only. It works really well. You can get a pretty decent looking stream. I don't know if it does 60 FPS or anything crazy like that, but that's like the only capture card I've ever had, and I really don't want to get stuck with another coaster. I have my Roxio Game Capture HD, but that thing was pretty much cursed from the start. So if you guys can offer some good input on that, I'll probably try to get that soon, and maybe I'll start doing console stuff consistently again. But for now, it's mostly going to be PC and my Vita capture card. I also have some Darius Burst Chronicle Savior stuff that I like to do. So lots of exciting stuff going on. I am kind of burnt out on Tokiden, so I'm probably going to take a break. I did buy Bot Vice off the Steam sale, so I'll probably be covering those two games after I finish with the Tokiden DLC. Anyway, I hope this opens some eyes to how shitty ad revenue is right now and why people are promoting Patreon so much. I haven't done it in a while because I felt like maybe my content's not good enough for it or something, but you guys continue to prove me wrong, so maybe I will put some more effort into some better goals or something, and we'll try to get a new capture card, maybe, if not next month, probably when I get back from vacation, which will be in June. Anyway, catch you guys later. Peace.